We are back and we have ready ups already. We have the next match between Sexo players and Jarydogs. Opening hit. Going to come in right away. 2-2 with the jockey and the hunter. Spawns all rocket off the top. The boomer gets a triple. Somehow the hunter is not going to be successful though. The spit goes out towards the jockey. And even though it's a good triple boom, there's not much damage coming out, about a little bit more than 1% in rails. But we are live already.
Indeed we are. So we have Jarydogs on the survivor side. You said Sexo plays with the special infected?
Yeah, Sexo players. That's their team name.
That literally means sex players. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see on both sides. Obviously, we have a little bit of a ping discrepancy just because these are one game NA, and I don't think Fake Lag was actually engaged here because this is like a North American-based tournament. First one of those we've seen in quite a long time. Obviously, the first couple RBTs, I think, were in that format, as was Watch Left 4 Dead, AST2. Like, we're going back to 2014, 2015 to pull those out of the ether, you know what I'm saying? But either way, on a situation like this, where you have one team with a little bit of a ping advantage, we'll see exactly how much of an impact that actually has. That's a nice charge spit, however, with a smoke in the back onto Jared, that being the captain of Jarydogs, as we do have a bit more damage. I think that could have actually gone out on that hit if that spit had been able to capitalize on it. Let's do a quick roster rundown. For Team and Jarydogs, we have Mase598, our lovely admin of the Mase Cup, as we are in the second round of that very tournament here on Passifice. We have Nolan, we have Jarydogs, and we have Viva La Peru, aka Sir Please, I do believe, just using a different name. And who do we have for Team Sexo plays, MK?
We have Sneaky, we have Code Dina, Rixosis, I believe, and then we have SDBSSS, which I have no idea how to pronounce that because it's all consonants with no vowels, so I'm puzzled how to begin. As 100 gets skeeted, nicely shut down. Charger goes in for a sack, and now that should give them a jockey, smoker, and a boomer for the next set of spawns rails.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, we'll see exactly how much the ping disparity comes into play here, because these players are probably veteran players on both sides. But in a situation like this, where Team Sexo plays is going to be able to use this tank early, their first couple of hits leading into this have seemed decent, and that's a nice double boom as well, landing just as I was saying that, kind of confirming what I thought, because they got that triple boom on the opening hit, plus they could have gotten even more damage last time, but that car is the opposite of what they're looking for on the SI side, as the tank is committing with a double boom, but Rochelle, that being Nolan, is kiting away from the tank, getting really far away from him, actually causing the tank to switch targets under 3k HP, and the survivors are just ripping him apart with Uzis right now. There is one survivor split, that being Mase, but honestly, the tank is whiffing punches onto him, still whiffing punches onto him, and getting juked by the tournament administrator who used his administrative access to the force to dodge all of those punches, obviously. That is a no-hitter tank, MK, and that honestly might have been a little bit of that disparity we were talking about earlier, but generally extremely well played by Jarydogs after that double boom. When that tank hit that car out of bounds, that's when things started to take a turn, I would say.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for them. The boom was very clutch. He had all the commons in. He just made a little bit of a bad decision, maybe funneling onto Rochelle as the charger goes in and misses. Boomer's now pre-spawn, probably going to get picked through the ceiling at any moment. There he goes. He eventually gets popped, but does get a one boom. Spit goes in, and I don't know what that was. He's probably going to get killed. And no, they let it live to avoid the quad.
Exactly, and so he's saying that the ping went up when he tried to punch, so that's what he's saying. It went up to like 170, so because it increased from 90 to 170, if you've ever played with higher ping, then you know that if it starts rotating, like, I think 170 solid, if it doesn't, like, oscillate in any way, is actually, like, preferable to 90 to 170 when it's always changing, because then your tank arms, you can't really predict where they're going to be, and you can't predict how they're going to change exactly, because if it's always just kind of changing like that, he's saying that that was the issue as to why he couldn't get a punch onto Mase. I think Mase was doing a great job of juking him at the same time, but I do think, honestly, it was a little bit of both. And one of the things we've seen so far from this tournament, like I said, it's Maze's tournament. He does whatever he wants. We're just here to basically enunciate the best that we can when it comes down to what actually is going on. But the point is, if Fake Lag isn't being employed in a situation like that, I don't know if Fake Lag would have helped the ping if it were oscillating, but it's something where that would, you know, probably be a preferred format in some ways for some teams, just because that can obviously make a difference when it is just a bunch of one games coming down to it, as we see here. We do have a nice double boom going out once again, but all the cappers are coming in from the front. Charger's going to go in, is going to whiff, going for that long charge off the side, but not landing. The pounce does connect for a hot second, but MK, Jarydogs are getting the most that they can out of this map so far, and they still have a 959-point health bonus.
Yeah, that is a huge bonus, Rails. That is almost the same bonus as Vaso de Leche put up in the first game we casted.
Hey,
That is a humongous bonus right now. And this is the last hit they're going to get. At least it's a pretty decent 2-2 they could set up for a charge pit. And they need this last hit going out. And that's a nice 2-boom. They don't set it up, but the charger gets it low. The spinner is way out of position and was not ready for that. And that was a missed opportunity, Rails. It could have been probably about 10% and only settled for 3 as they're going to walk in with 900 plus.
Yeah, no one got the brunt of that hit on the survivor side, but it doesn't really matter because the tank on this map is the main dealer of damage. 1,420 points for Team Jarydogs. I actually almost Freudian slipped that and said Vaso de Leche instead because of the fact that we saw that in the last match, but this was even better than what we saw Vaso de Leche's performance turn out to be. So hats off to Jarydogs, honestly, for taking advantage of the situation that they're in. But at this point, you know, it really is going to come down to what Team Sexo plays can do with this kind of ping disadvantage. They have one person in the red at like 186-ish right now, and everybody else in that orange. So, like I said, I'm a big fan of the fake lag thing just because that does even the playing field and maintains the fact that we can have this game be in its best form on like one server. You and I were talking about this before the last cast, and I am a firm believer in the fact that the home and away system should be eliminated in the favor of fake lag. So I don't think that we should go all the way back to when it was just, you know, one region's hosting the tournament, although, like I said, they have the right to do so. But the point would be that, you know, anytime that we can get a best of one in terms of a game on one server with fake lag balancing the latency, that would be the most ideal. Because a big thing that a lot of people said about the NA community for a while, right, was the fact that when you played in NA, and I ran tournaments like this, I was the person who actually did it, you know, that back then it was like, because it was a North American tournament, it's going to be North American servers only, and Mase is doing this because we haven't really seen a North American-based tournament for this community happen in a couple of years. We have tremendous tournaments coming out of South America, Chinese tournaments. The EU/RU scene has done exactly what it's needed to do to keep itself alive, and the question is, why couldn't North America do the same thing? So it's awesome to see a North American tournament. It's long overdue, but for a wider international tournament, I think we're going to have to lean towards the best of one on a server that has the fake lag, you know, kind of employed. Because I'm looking at ways to make the North American scene better, and I think a lot of reason the North American players stopped playing is because you had to do these home and away sequences. And when that happened, we had a situation where, you know, people really didn't want to commit 3 hours or 3.5 hours of their day to playing Comp Left 4 Dead 2 when they were just going to go on a server with 300 ping and get absolutely demolished. And it was always like, oh, damn, you know, the team with high ping can actually win. And sometimes they did, and that was awesome. But typically when you saw it happen, you got 3-hour sequences where teams were just kind of beating the heck out of each other, you know, on their home server, and then kind of balancing that out on the opposite side. So I really want to just like emphasize the point that Mase can do whatever the hell he wants with this tournament, and you know, having a North American-based tournament with more NA teams playing against NA teams on NA servers is something to definitely shoot for. And this tournament's obviously positive. But I want to see fake lag employed when there are teams from different regions actually playing each other, because that, to me, this game is meant to be played on one server with one campaign or like a mix of campaign chapters together versus the home and away system, but it's got to have that fake lag compensation as well to make it truly even, in my opinion.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. It's completely agreeable. If you're able to get like a common medium somewhere, usually no matter where everybody is in the world, you can get everybody like at least in like the 180 range, maybe, Rails, not over 200. Usually under there, when compared to away games, you're always going to be 200 plus. So it changes a lot from the 250 to 300 range to 150, 180. That's a completely different game, you know, but still those neutral games will have people playing a little bit differently, because even though it's not that much ping compared to the away game, you don't want to be boomed on high ping, even medium ping, and have like a tank commit. You'll put yourself in a scenario you don't want to be in. So you'll still see some teams, in my opinion, try to play it safe in certain areas, not move too quickly if you get boomed when it happens. So I do agree with where you're coming from.
The other thing is, we have seen the South American scene do a tremendous job when it came to actually getting, what, like 100, 150 teams. So, like, just a huge shout out to them for actually doing that. But I think a huge reason for that as well was because those were 1 games versus anything that you saw at home and away. Just going to say that as well. We do have a opening hit going out on the second half of the Passifice here between Team Sexo plays, right, and also Team Jarydogs. That was a nice hit from Jarydogs on that, just because they were able to get the 2 pairs to land. Jockey managed to land. We also saw a bit of a pounce spit there for a hot second. First tank of the game for them is going to be in the hands of Nolan in just about, let's see, 14%, 13%, something like that. So let's see exactly what can happen here, because again, we have seen situations where the ping disparity hasn't been enough outright for one team to win. I'm hoping Sexo Plays does the best that they can, given the situation, as we mentioned on the last half for Jarydogs. That's a nice charge spit, though, from the Special Infected with this Smoker. Going for something outside, but really the Smoker didn't even have to do anything there, MK, for it to be a tremendous hit.
No, and now they're going to get the tank up. And one thing to note, Rails, there's only a 10-point difference now of the teams for each chapter. So one more hit from the SI, and then Jarydogs' team will definitely get the win on the chapter at least, depending on how much more this tank can do. A Boomer goes in, gets M2'd, and that is a great shutdown on the Boomer, barring anybody gets stuck in this window. Okay, they're going to take it good. All right, support shutdown. That was a clean take there, Rails. That was a big shutdown on the SI backing out that window. Could be disastrous if one's left behind.
Right, and the big difference is going to be whether or not this tank in the hands of Nolan can keep his hittables in play. Because this open area, it's pretty easy for the survivors, in my opinion, not to get like disastrously multi-capped, as so long as they're paying attention to one another, but the hittable is what makes the big difference here. So he's going to try to get this one car without yeeting into the water, and if he can do that, then he'll be in a good position to at least maybe separate them or do something like that. Mase's Boomer is going to die, so that's not going to be a factor in this tank fight as of yet. I don't think they're going to get another Boomer either, but they are sending the Charger in, so that's going to be Charger dead and Boomer dead. They're going for the Smoker Hunter Jockey, you know, open field tri-cap with everything that can try to land more than one time. Just because the Charger, it's a huge land if you actually manage to get it, but it is hit or miss, obviously, because it doesn't have a recharge right away. I always thought it was interesting when somebody described that. I'm trying to remember which player who I played with described it as being like, you want the thing that has more opportunities to land in the open field that way, because landing a Charger is obviously huge, but especially when you're playing against people with higher ping or playing with higher ping, can be harder to land that Charger. And we do see the Go-Go going out in Sexo Plays chat. Let's see exactly what goes on here as this car goes whipping in. Now that's a much better hittable placement from this Special Infected team as opposed to the other. The early pull does go out as well, but does get cleared pretty fast too, but the tank does have a corner onto Ellis now. That's going to be a pounce landing and getting cleared at the same time. Nolan still has 4,100-ish HP. Landing a rock onto Rochelle, jumping around after the survivors now as the Smoker is still up in the hands of Mase, and that Jockey in the hands of Jared also has yet to go in, but the tank is going to try to reposition this car, rolling into the park area, throwing another underhand rock. That survivor, that being Ellis, in a position where I don't even think he can be killed unless the tank like wedges the car next to him. So let's see if that's what they aim for, or if they just go for some kind of recommit. They're going to boom on him instead. The Common still should be able to get to him there, just because he's wedged between the truck and the bus, and indeed, he's going to actually be able to clear them pretty efficiently just by himself. The ones pounding on his head are going to force the survivors to make some kind of play, because Nolan still has 3,000 HP, and he is now starting to die just because the Common are around him. So that's going to force the survivors to try to save Ellis before he dies. But they're not going for him, actually. He's going to die without them being able to pick him up because they were scared of the tank doing this exact thing with the car. They're down to 3 survivors, and we are seeing an impact on that bonus from that death as the car lands onto Codina. That is going to be, or Codaina, I should say. Let's see what the tank does now, because he is down to 3k HP, whipping that car directly over Nick's head, but this is looking like a wipe. Charger is going to land. Nick is in the corner, and he does get pounced. Beautiful tank by Nolan, and amazing support. MK, if in that position, they didn't want to try to save Ellis as he was boomed, because the tank was going to be able to try to trap them if they did. It really is the definition of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation.
Oh my goodness, Rails, what a first chapter. And right now, there is a huge point delta going to Chap 2, Rails. Massive. Massive delta. It's not over yet, though, but it is a big delta for one map.
We kind of mentioned this on the last cast, but anytime you're playing Passifice in pugs or in scrims or in tournament matches, if you get an early wipe on any of the chapters, really, and this obviously you might be saying, oh, Rails, this is for any campaign. Okay, but it's double true on Passifice, because if you have a map where you can score 1,400 points and you have a campaign where you see teams that are good on Survivor side score 3,000 points in the first 2 chapters, an early wipe can literally end the game. This is one of those situations where Sexo players are going to have to really try to make their way back by getting a counter wipe. 41% maybe is, I don't know if I would bet on that, depending on if the survivors would transition out into that open area before the theater or something. But you don't really see another campaign where you can have chapters that have points that are this consequential, this fast, I would say, if a team dies early. Because, like, that early tank there, you usually expect the survivors to maybe survive it with an in-cap or 2, but it's when they get somebody separated, they get into a position like that where they can't actually do anything, then it kind of it kind of turns the tables against them in a way that can be really hard to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, right now they want to definitely get a tank wipe. Sexo player's going to get a pull out in front. The Charger chose to go for the back target, doesn't land. Jockey covers a little late. And it looks like the SI, in my opinion, rails are just a little off. They're close to being almost perfectly in sync. And their targets just are a little questionable to me. Like, I think if the Charger covered that smoker, they could have maximized their damage a little bit.
Yeah, so Jared plays, I think, are pretty comfortable with this lead. It is something where if they die, that would be the chance for Sexo players to actually really, like, shorten the gap between them. But I'm just going to say it's going to come down to the tank, because Charger, Hunter, Jockey, they're going to try to get a spitter or a quad. Well, yeah, I mean, they could try to get a quad too, but what kind of hits am I thinking to myself are they actually going to have to be able to capitalize on that? They do have a quick, like, 2 cappers landing. I won't call it a double cap because of how fast they got cleared and because they weren't really in amazing sequence there. They managed to land one and then the other, but like I said, this transition where the survivors are jumping out, if they can maybe get somebody separated and capped up top, that would be absolutely huge. But once again, this is a tank that you expect the survivors to do a pretty good job of surviving. We do have the Charger landing onto Coach, but the spit is not going to go. I think that was a partial level by Jared there, even though the Charger did technically land. And yeah, it wasn't even close enough to a spawn to where they could capitalize on any kind of separation like that. MK, this is a tough tank to wipe on usually.
Yeah, they even got into the street rails and cleared out all the commons too. So just like you said, it is a tough tank to wipe, but it's even more difficult if they have the time to get down and clear out the area and be more comfortable in kiting this tank around. But the tank is up right now. Support's going to be a Hunter, Charger, Jockey. I don't think we're going to see this Charger stay alive. They're probably going to want to Smoker, Hunter, Jockey for this commit unless they can land a pretty big boom. But pretty sure tri-cap on the commit here is what I would want rails.
Exactly. So they're going to
kill everything. They're setting it all rails.
Everything. Yeah, they want a boomer. They want a boomer and they want a smoker for this area, I'm pretty sure, because if the boomer lands, that's something where if it gets a single or a double boom, it can mitigate the fact this area is so wide open, and the smoker almost needs to get an early pull for something to go down here. Mase is playing pretty aggressive, probably just because he can, but the tank in the hands of 59, 14 Sexo players, right, is going to have to commit with whatever he's got. So he's got a smoker, a Charger, and a boomer. I would prefer a Hunter or a Jockey, but he's going to make his way in with what he has because he has to. And he's down to 10% frustration as well as the survivors are kiting him around. Smoker pull is not going to land. Boomer does not quite go yet. I thought the Charger was the boomer for a second, but Ellis has managed to corner himself on the trash bag, so the tank should be almost dead. Boomer spawns up and does get popped. There's the in-cap that does go out. Smoker is dead, and that's going to be the only damage from that tank. No support landing, MK.
No, the tank got his own corner, did everything he needed to, and the support did, what do we say? Nada.
Absolutamente nada.
Tank did not Tank was the only thing that participated in damage. I'll tell you what, Rails, he did a good job of getting his own corner. A little questionable on the pathing at first, but he does manage to get the job done, and just missed opportunity from the infected again. As the Hunter tries to find someone in the door, they miss. Unfortunate for them, the spitter believed and it didn't work out. The Jockey dies off at the end, and now they're going to have tri-cap with boom coming up. No spitter in the close quarters on this drop. Not the best sack order in my opinion either here, Rails.
Yeah, so they're mad at the doors just because the doors, I think, were providing some kind of blockage for the SI at that moment. Either way, if you're on Survivor side right now, you really like where you're at just because you're about to have 2,000 points before getting anywhere close to the safe room and are still carrying over a 1,000 point bonus. This is something where the SI are going to have to maybe try to land a quad, because this is already getting out of hand. It's a little similar to what we saw earlier tonight. They're saying to hit below. And Boomer, Hunter, Charger, Smoker, I think that's the right call because they don't have any kind of spitter to get the close range damage. They're going to have to rely on a multi-cap, but I'm thinking quad MK, I got to be honest. Like, it's, you don't want to always have to try to go for the home run play, but in a situation where you're looking at maybe like a 3,000 point deficit, and I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that, like a close to 3,000 point deficit, you kind of got to hit them really, really hard. And the Boomer's going to get pops. That's not the way they want to start off. One survivor is down below. There's the pull, and there's the clear as well. Mase is getting hoarded, but the Charger lands a double charge up top. Ellis, though, was not part of that interaction as the smoke lands below. Ugh, if that had been a multi-cap up top with that double charge, it would have been insane, and it was still a pretty good amount of damage. That's a couple hundred points off the bonus there.
Yeah, that's definitely a big hit they needed. They want to get this bonus melted down rails for a possibility to mount a comeback, as they're going to come up to a favorable area for the SI. If they can get a hit before they push out, I don't think they'll have spawns. It's going to be tough to get damage out here in the open with what they have. The Jockey, Boomer, Spitter, Hunter rails. I don't see much coming out of this.
Me either, and they're going to spend it now because I think they want a good hit for the alley, honestly, or for the area of the map, the tunnel up ahead. Let's see what they get, though, because this Hunter is going to land with some spit separation. Mase is going to get a couple of claws to the chest there as that Boomer dies last. So it's going to be a multi-cap with spit, I'm fairly sure. But if the survivors just hold the go-go button right now, they still deal with a little bit of water slowdown. This hit that they're going to deal with in the tunnel, and then as they're coming out of the tunnel, that is something I think that might be able to change this game, just because if they get some kind of multi-charge, also with some kind of like multi-cap on top of it, would be a huge amount of damage, and that's exactly what the SI team need. It's going to be Smoker, Charger, Spitter, and Jockey for it. So pretty ideal hit, honestly, for this situation. The Smoker just has to find a way to land. And I think if they decide to send it when the survivors are hoarded at the end, it's an infinite hoard in this version of Zone Mod, so the survivors are going to be forced to have to make the play on survivor's side. It's going to be a really annoying try to do this entire thing, I will say. But as the survivors poke their heads out, the Smoker's going to spawn. Charger's going to come from up top as well. It's a pull charge spit onto Rochelle, so not quite the multi-cap that I was hoping that they would get just for their sake, but Nolan does take a good amount of damage. They're going to knock the bonus down to 630 MK, but that's still a decent chunk of bonus, to say the least. They do get the in-cap on it, however.
Yeah, the in-cap goes out. That'll be 5% on DB upon pickup as well, so they get a little bit extra for that. They knock the bonus sub 600, but they still have one more opportunity for damage, but it's going to be a broken hit, kind of one at a time. Hunter already looking for a spawn. Charger trying as well. They spawn up a little late. Hunter's coming in. Charger as well. Hunter gets gated. The Charge will get the 10 damage. I think that's all they're going to get extra is about another 20 points. And that's safe for Made with a 554 bonus. And they have a 2-chapter score here, Rails, of 2,676.
Indeed they do. So not quite the 3K. But however, we also saw a little better SI performance on map 1 from the team that's leading. So it's a comparable delta to what we saw in the last match, which for those that didn't see it, it was, I think, like 2,940 something to like 307 or something after the first map. So, like I said, pretty comparable, just because in this situation, the team that's playing from behind cannot afford a wipe on the second map. It's going to be a Mase tank at 41%. Spitter, Jockey, Charger, Smoker for this hit from Team Jarydogs. Team Sexo players on Survivor side are just going to make their way up and clear some common as they do it. Let's see exactly what happens. Got Smoker wants to pull across. Looks like the Charger and Jockey want to rock it. And if any kind of multi-cap goes out here, it's really, really putting a lot of pressure on the Survivor team. There is a Jockey landing, but no smoke to cover it up. Smoker is going to get cleared. Rochelle's going to drink a little bit of spit, but that is pretty much all that the SI were able to do, and it's just 20 damage. That's a good handle by the Survivor team.
Yes, it was. Not much comes off of them. They still have a couple Survivors, 5 punches for at least one more hit. They're going to be able to navigate through the bar, get out the window, and probably start clearing infected out in the area where some of these construction vehicles are. Now let's see what the SI want to do with their spawns. They'll have a Jockey, Hunter, Charger, Boomer. I don't know with this, Rails. You think they're going to go early or save for the choke point? Because going inside probably isn't optimal.
Hunter wants a DP. This is some PSIM, some PSIM skybox stuff coming out here from Sir. Just because I think he wants to get that, you know, highlight frag video damage, which who can blame him if you can actually land it in this area. And the only thing is they don't have a spitter on the SI side. As you mentioned, they got the Charger, Boomer, Hunter, and Jockey.
Down about 1,200, so they gotta get at least 400 per map.
Right. I mean, they can't afford to get like ridiculously multi-capped as they're trying to jump across the plank here. Just because I think the SI are set up for that and they're kind of banking on the separation. Mase is saying that his ISP sucks. I cannot vouch for. Oh my goodness, yes it does. Everyone's gonna say I couldn't vouch for or against that notion, but yes I can because I'm looking at tab. And you don't have to worry about a ping discrepancy anymore because Maze's is 516, dropping to 357 now. So that is not what you want to see if you are on the special infected side of things. And he's going to be the tank as well. So if he has a situation where his arms get turned into absolute noodles because of his ISP only allowing him to punch across a room, that will definitely benefit the survivors who are looking to make this comeback. Charger's going to whiff. Hunter gets skeeted. Boomer's going to get a double boom, but that is all they've got. And this jockey is currently warping into another dimension because the admin has 600 and 52 ping. Look at, he's actually floating, MK. He's floating.
I can't find him.
He set himself on fire! He's at the fire barrel, and now the tank is up and has 700 ping. It actually has found a way to connect to the source of all humanity. A Wikipedia page that says in my 17 years. If you understand that joke and you're watching, props to you. But we used to be able to actually hear what teams were communicating, especially in English. And I don't mind doing this for English and Spanish, honestly. We only have one war room tonight. But something that I absolutely loved about Left 4 Dead 2 cast is the ability to hear the teams as they're playing. Let's go listen to Mase, who has brought it back. He says, worst case, he long arms. We're going to hear how Team Jarydogs plays their tank in the hands of Mase with those red ping arms.
What does that even mean?
I think Boomer or Jockey better.
Alright.
Seems actually playable now. Hopefully it stays that way.
For now.
I'm jinxing it.
He's gonna toggle when he commits, so he gets
Boom,
the
yeah.
Yeah.
He's lagging for sure. Close one. Oh, you got him, you got him.
I got owned.
Help him out.
You kept? Ah, 3.
Okay, there wasn't a double?
Easy, clean.
I'll take it.
It's good damage.
I'll take him as.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. That was the tank for Jarydogs in the hands of Mase. That is the first Left 4 Dead 2 war room we've had in a decent amount of time. He did a good job of spreading the love there. He went for a long arm at the start, but unfortunately for him, his ping was green. And then fortunately for him afterwards, his ping was green as well because he managed to spread that damage just decently. MK, what did you think of that?
He did a pretty good job. I thought as well as spreading the love. I mean, the SI did a nice double cap. Unfortunately, he didn't have them split, so they were able. Oh my gosh, the damage coming out, and that's a full in cap rails. And I was about to say they had 1,030 bonus, and they still had a good chance to break that delta. But after the pickup, that takes 220 points and probably another set of pills. That's going to be a 260 point play right there, Rails.
Yeah,
big
you
hit
see
for the infected.
La SMG Chaos means they're asking the SMG what they were doing, because in that particular situation, if there was an SMG leading for some reason, you do not want the SMG to be leading in a closed quarter area. I was about to compliment them as well because they took that tank in a decent enough position to where they can actually change this game around, but if they keep taking hits like that, there's absolutely no way they're going to be able to keep pace with what Jarydogs are doing. They still have 791 bonus, so all is not quite lost because the tank did not get an in cap, but the fact they suffer an in cap there obviously opens up the damage bonus, and let's see if they can actually survive a multi-cap and keep everybody fast. That's the other big thing that they have to watch for, MK, because this tunnel event with the common and the ping and the water slowdown and the quad caps can be pretty intimidating, honestly, for a survivor team, if they're not all fast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if they are, this is still massive amount of damage unless the survivors can get the clears right on the drop. They won't have the charger, so that does benefit them a little bit. But 791 bonus before drop. Let's see how much they can hold on to that on this transition down, as most of the commons are already cleared except for the other side of the wall on the drop. And the smoker is now up, and man, are they taking their time here, Rails. I can't see it. Then they're dropped now. Here it comes. And there goes the pole. Gets cleared right away. Hunter tries to find a target. Lands on the same target as the jockey. And the spit damage does not spread on him. But there's a lot of damage going out from the smoker.
That's so unfortunate, because they asked essentially in their own team chat whether or not they wanted to drop everybody at once or not. When they dropped everybody, they got the pinners on the same guy, so the jockey and the hunter collided with the same target. But if that smoker had just been cleared a little bit earlier, that would not have been nearly as much damage, and you hate to see damage come out like that, especially when the survivors have done a good job in terms of dealing with the parts of the hit that are supposed to be dealing damage, such as the multi-cap inducing parts of it. That charger also dies. Jockey's going to land onto Rochelle, and one survivor in front is also going to get pounced. So once again, just because the survivors are a little bit out of position away from each other there, more damage is going to go out than it should have. And we have a tri-boom, and we have two people slow. MK, this is not looking amazing for Team Sexo players at this moment.
No, it's not right now. I mean, they have a spitter coming up, and I'm pretty sure Mase is going to hold on to this spitter probably to the end. I don't think they'll have time to get another one, so they'll probably hold that and just get the spawns they want for the end. But right now, they make it up to the last turn. Other than the chapter 1, oh, they're actually going to go. Smoker tries to get a pull on Nick. Spit goes out, gets killed. Smoker dies. And now they're not going to have a spit for the end, and that's kind of what the Survivor team needs, but due to them getting wiped on map 1, Rails, other than that, it's a pretty close game if you don't include map 1.
So it's a pretty close game if we don't include half of it so far. Yeah. That's alright, because here we have another example of where the survivors can actually keep it close, but the infected can also do a lot of damage. I really do think this hit is the most consequential on this chapter, obviously aside from anything involving the tank. So let's see if this jockey, Boomer, Charger, and Hunter can do anything for Jarydogs on the special infected side. Boomer's going to go in, as is that Hunter and Charger. Charger's going to get a couple of fists and then the pound onto 59 in the front as that Hunter also went in. So that's going to drop the bonus already as this jockey is now waiting. And the horde isn't quite over yet either, so they had to pick up 59 before he dies from the common. And the jockey now is going to go into troll. Kind of a little bit delayed when it comes to everything, but I think because they were waiting on the horde and maybe trying to get another hit, but unfortunately for the SI, they're not going to be able to get the wipe right there, and fortunately for the survivors, they still have 320 points of bonus as the spit goes down onto the stairs for a delay.
Yeah, but it looks like they're going to walk in with a couple hundred bonus. They might take a little bit more damage here as the smoker gets a pull back, gets cleared. They still have 316 bonus left. Hunter's pouncing around, Charger's trying to find a location, Spitter's in the safe room. Hunter does land, Charger comes in, goes Fist City on the coach, and then stumbles Nick in the spit, and that's going to be a huge amount of damage, Rails.
Yeah, that's more than I expected on that, and this is one thing, because I'm going to start complaining about some things in the game that I don't like, not because it's one person's fault, but because of what's happened to the game. Let's pounce someone, and then let's have a Charger point itself at the broadside of a barn and get a stumble onto it, because that obviously takes the most skill in the world. That's one thing that I wish we could find a way to mitigate, because the amount of times that I've seen that happen, where the point of the charger is to charge someone. It's not called a stumbler in terms of the SI name, you know what I mean? It's something where you're supposed to try to hit a survivor. If you charge somebody in spit who's getting up from a pounce, that's cool, but this whole meta of, oh, let's have the one SI dive onto it, and then the counter argument is, well, you shouldn't have gotten pounced or whatever, right? But in my personal opinion, whenever I see a charge like that happen, I don't even know if that was intentional, but just because the charger essentially arrow pointed itself at a wall and slammed its head into a piece of concrete, that did an entire other in cap onto the survivors, and it's just super unfortunate because they probably should have killed the charger, but when it's done, like the place that I always look to, right, is like Dark Carnival map 3 before the drop, where it's like basically if you're standing at the hole, you get pounced. It's like, okay, you should have skied the hunter number 1, and then if you got charged in this bit, like sure, that's your punishment. But I just hate seeing the SI not doing what it's intended to do and then getting rewarded for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. But on to chapter 3. Map will be worth 500 distance. The delta is a little bit more than 1,500, I believe. I didn't do the math correctly. Let's see, what is that? About 1,700 rails is the point delta right now? Yeah. It's
pretty much. I mean, it's definitely recoverable for the SI team. They're saying they're going to change something up by having someone else take SMG, so they're going to switch their weapons around a bit. But for this half, it's going to be this first hit coming in without a whole lot of success. Charger kind of led there, and once again, that Charger got annihilated. So the Hunter does land for a split second, but only 1 tick of damage off this. And this is a static tank MK, where if one team... You know, it kind of reminds me of last week on Dead Before Dawn, we saw the map 3 button where you have to basically turn off the event with a bunch of common. This is a little similar in the sense that when you spawn the tank, you got to have your SI ready to go and almost like ready to cycle one at a time, or at least in a way where the tank can get out the back without losing like 25% of its health.
Yeah, I definitely agree. They'll have to do that, but one more hit before that will be a tri-cap. The Smoker and Charger land, but the Charger is killed before it's able to reach its destination to start getting more damage. And that's going to be another pretty clean take by Team Jarydogs. And right now, they still have a good bonus of 93% before tank, but I don't think they're going to get any more SI hits, Rails. And now it's going to be like you said. Let's see how well they can protect this tank from when they try to open this door.
Right. I mean, if they send another hit right now, they're kind of screwing the tank over, which they obviously don't want to do. And Sneaky is going to be the tank for Team Sexo players. This Hunter is getting chipped just a little bit, and I feel like that's all right, because this is the moment now where the Boomer's going to rocket in, not going to land, and now this Charger and Jockey have to do something to prevent the survivors from actually really chipping this tank. There is a timer nowadays, though, for the tank to go out the back. That's why they're calling go-go now to see exactly what can happen here. That Charger is not going to land, but the Jockey definitely is going to, and this tank is pretty decently protected, and that's how it's done, MK. Absolutely no chip on that tank before he went for the ladder. He might take a couple shotgun shells here, but he's still got 5,868 HP. That was the perfect play by Team Sexo players right there.
Yep, that's about as textbooks as they get, Rails. Just like you said, clean getaway, less than 200 damage. Couldn't have written it any better. And they actually managed to get a little bit of damage, too, on that hit, around 3%. Not much, but it is something to chip away. It's going to go for another hit here with a retro support. There goes the Smoker. Misses, but the rock lands is beautiful. The distraction setup is clutch. The Hunter gets skeeted, but the damage is already done, Rails. That's a successful hit, if you ask me, for the SI.
Oh, absolutely. This tank is on 95% first pass, and the survivors, everybody on this team should know how to LOS. That's what I'm thinking to myself, just because, you know, they're going to try to maybe get a little bit of chip, and obviously Mase is doing his best to do exactly that, but he's also at the range where if he stands by that boat, that he's very rockable. Boomer's going to spawn up and isn't getting a whole lot of anything. Charger's going to spawn up as well, goes for the YOLO charge off the side, doesn't land much of anything, kind of hard to land a charge there. Boomer dies second, Rock goes flying in, tank is on 45%, first pass, 5,300 health. I kind of love to see a Rock tank in this area just because, you know, if the survivors can LOS, it's really good. But I remember even back in Bleed Out, I think it was between Serenity and HCP, like there was a moment where like it can be deceptively hard to actually LOS in this area. And if you notice, the tank is doing a great job. You know, if the score were a little closer, I'd say that the tank could keep it as like a perma-rock tank, but in a situation like this, they sort of kind of need a wipe. So unless they can land a bunch of rocks in a row, like don't get me wrong, they might be able to, they're probably eventually going to have to commit it. And indeed, the survivors are doing a much better job now shutting down the SI. They kill that tri-cap, and there's going to be absolutely no damage really coming off of it. If this tank gets chipped down another 1k, that's really not ideal, I'd say, for the special infected. So they got to consider how long they really want to keep this up for.
And he's stretching it out, Rails. Look at him.
He's going to keep it up for a while if he can do that. Maze eating another free rock.
My
Oh, I
goodness.
almost wish we were in Warm right now, just because so we can hear exactly what's going on when it comes to these comms. If he lands another rock, we're actually gonna send it over. That's the deal that I'm gonna make right now. Boomer is not gonna land. Mase is probably being told to back up in a number of ways that are most likely explicit, and at the same point in time, the tank doesn't have anybody bleeding, so that's 2 good rocks that, by all rights, he probably shouldn't have gotten. But at the same point in time, the survivors are still decently alive. And the survivors don't have to take this chapter perfectly. They just have to basically make it with some modicum of bonus. And at that point, they'll still be able to maintain their lead. But I think the SI are really trying to wear down their mental. That's going to be a Hunter landing onto Mase with a Jockey and a Smoker going for the same target. The Rock is going to go in, not going to land this time. And like I said, there's nobody bleeding yet, MK. And now he's down to about 4,000 HP. So he's getting about 1 rock for every 1,000 points of health.
Yeah, that's not good math, unfortunately. I mean, they're stretching it out. If they can manage to get a wipe at the end, it's great demoralization getting all these SI hits. I think Rails that they've already went in 5 times. This is going to be number 6. And they've gotten 2 rocks. He's still first pass. Lost 2k HP. Boomer goes in by himself before he was called. A little bit of a misplay here. Hunter looks like he wants to come in. The Charger is not able to get anything. And I think that's going to be the... they're just going to rock this out the whole way, Rails. They're not going to come in it. There's no way they can.
Yeah.
It's too hurt.
I don't know if that's the right call necessarily in this situation, but it's a call they kind of have to make now. Just due to the fact that, okay, they have a survivor bleeding, so they can kind of play off of that, but the reason that I didn't want to see it get this low, like, he punted his car in case he has to commit, but he's now going to kind of be forced into perma-rock, and the survivors are going to get kind of punished for it, but the score just simply isn't close enough to really make this the most ideal situation. That smoker pull was good, but the timing with the rock was off, and the survivors are going to get ammo. But, you know, it's... Oh my goodness, he got... We're sending it over. I made that promise. We're sending it over. We're sending it over.
There's no point in LS anymore, to be honest.
It's true.
So done with you, Mase.
I had to know for myself, dude.
Don't worry behind the car. Whoa. Okay, I checked. He's full
Maybe
HP.
committing, right, guys?
No.
Dude, he almost tricked me with that message. I was reading it rather than looking at the rock.
You're too far away, Mase. Come back a little bit.
No, trust me. 1 more rock.
Just focus the rock.
Let's hide.
Yes, sir. I like that.
I want him to throw a rock at me. Oh, fuck.
He can see Mase.
No, he didn't break it.
Mase?
He knows. Okay, now he just started looking at me.
Alright, Boomer's up. Careful.
Are the pills still here? Hold on.
No, I took him. Mase, you're running there.
Smoker!
We lost again?
Hard, please. Oh, pass Mase pills. Or you can do it now.
Oh. Lag.
Bro's lagging.
Wait up, I have something for you.
I am.
Thanks.
Spawns are up.
I am in bed.
Backing up.
Holy shit, he skeeted the wrong.
Thank
He's too good.
God my thing just came back.
Weapons here.
He's in.
He's in.
Good, Mase.
We're dead.
Yep, car's out.
Hunter behind. He's left.
Yeah. He was actually pretty
He
low.
was so fucking low.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen, from that Team Jarydogs war room. We saw Mase have 3 rocks. I can only imagine how their reaction was.
It was, let's just say everybody was laughing. Let's just put it that way.
Good,
It was
good,
no
good.
toxicity. It was funny.
Good.
Oh,
That's kind of what I imagined, just because when you have somebody who unfortunately eats 3 rocks on one tank, that's what warranted that little shift there, and I think it was indeed warranted. You know, I would have really appreciated that tank if this game were just a tad bit closer. But as I kind of said before, MK, and I'm sure you might agree with this principle, but it's like, this is still too much bonus for Jarydogs to have at this point if you're rooting for Team Sexo players.
Yes, it is. 695 bonus on a 500 distance map, now up to 715 upon finding that set of pills that they just secured on their person, and they're coming up on the last 2 hits rails for damage. And this is about to be completely out of play if they walk in the safe room with this bonus.
Yeah, I mean, we can see a rock tank on the other half, which, by the way, we're utilizing this worm thing as much as we absolutely want to. When it comes down to this now, I'm so happy that those are back just because it gives us such an insight into how the teams are doing and balances it out with the commentary that we do. But that's all to say that I would love to see that same kind of strategy employed by Jarydogs on their SI side, and it's something that they can actually afford to do because of the lead that they're about to have. They still have 708 bonus. And they have maybe 2 spawns to deal with, not even.
Maybe 1 rails. I don't even think they'll have the second one to worry about. It's going to be a charger, though. They might get a punch or 2. Oh, no, this charger's going to get nothing.
No. And that's the survivors making the safe room. 3,884 points for the first 3 maps of Passifice as we just complete the first half of the first map of Sacrifice. That's a lot of points, as we're actually used to seeing on this. And this is the second team today that we've seen actually get to that level. I think we might see that throughout the weekend. Even in games where you have teams that are, you know, maybe a little bit more even when it comes down to it. But I think this game is actually closer than the score says, just because, you know, Sexo players are dealing with the ping thing, plus they're also dealing with the fact that I think that early wipe on map 1 is really what killed them, because they made the last map, and they should also make this one. But then again, if they get put in a position where they're bottlenecked and having to play against a rock tank with a ping disadvantage, they could easily make it with either less bonus or somehow get wiped. So, you know, it's not quite over, but they would need to make it with a better bonus and then get some kind of quad or some kind of hittable wipe next map to have any single chance of bringing this back to a level that makes sense in terms of the delta.
Yes, but here we go. We're going to start the second half of Chapter 3. The opening hit the survivors will have to deal with will be Charger, Smoker, Boomer, and the Hunter. There is no Spitter included in the opening hit, so let's see where the SI choose to set up from. Looks like 2 will be on top of the normal house. Hunter's going to stay below them, while the Boomer comes from the opposite side, hiding behind the fence to try to boom over them as they progress here. But
oops! And let's see exactly how long this will take, because that was Sir's question. Obviously, he's playing on a different time zone than we are, so his brain is also already 5 hours into the future, like Maze's arms were a couple seconds into the future before. Let's see what happens now, though, because we do have the teams readying up. Team Sexo players, once again on Survivor side, trying to keep it as close as possible, and Team Jarydogs on the Special Infected, going in with this first hit. Charger's going to whiff, Hunter's going to land, double boom goes out with a Smoker pull for just about 18 damage on that first hit.
yeah, it looks like Bill's having a hard time, Rails. Okay, he's moving now. Bill is having a hard time there. Look what he's doing. Okay, he is lagging something fierce.
I think he's the person who was trying to reset his net, so we're going to still see now 1 player for each side having those kinds of issues. When you're in a position like this, that Spitter is actually going to delay. What I was going to say, though, is that can be a liability for either side, just because on Survivor you can suddenly warp into a place where you assuredly were not on your screen and get like Death Charge or something. Knock on wood, that doesn't happen to them. But it's going to be a Jockey, Charger, Hunter, and 1 more spawn for Mase to sack that Spitter in just 1 moment, and the survivors are going to have to take this. And indeed, that player has 643 ping, and I caster cursed him, so it wasn't a death charge, but it was the DP that went out from Sir, the server admin himself, with the name Viva La Peru, getting the 19 damage pounce in an area where I was surprised to see it land, and I'm sure Bill was even more surprised than I was. He has 844 ping. He is at Verb 2013 levels right now, just because of how much ping he actually has. Until he gets to 4K, though, he won't break the record for what I've actually seen. Jockey, Charger, Smoker, and a Spitter. They can't go forward because he can't move, MK. Look at him. He's a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, he's moving now. Oh, he's going to get depth charged.
Oh my God,
Rails! And they exploded the rag, and that's going to be a GG. Oh my!
I cursed him, MK! I cursed him! I literally knocked on my desk and said that he was getting double death charge. Easiest win of my life.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
Okay, so competitive Left 4 Dead 2 continues to be... That was a highlight right there. Competitive Left 4 Dead 2 continues to just be the most entertaining thing that I've ever seen in the year 2024 because the player lagged so hard that he got death charged with his... on his screen, he probably got death charged twice, you know what I mean?
I got a great view of it, and I'm happy I seen it.
That's going to be Team Jared Pogs taking the win in 3 maps by a score of like 3,800 something to not 3,800 something, obviously.